Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live show with me here, Peter Driver and Piscari Fly. I hope everybody's keeping well. How you doing, Neil Hamilton, Kevin Coyne, James Cope? Ricky's on there with Ricky Croak. He's had a good day in Adair Springs today, Ricky. You were down there with Ned. Evening, Liam Long. You're very welcome, Neil Hamilton. You're very welcome. Great to be here, which is again on another Saturday night. Lockdown is over. Restrictions are over. Not expecting none of you out in the pub tonight, no. No big major exodus out to the pub tonight. There's loads of on here, which would be great to see you. Sasha, how you doing? Steve Livingston, Patrick Burke, Robert Berry, how you doing, Robert? I hope you're keeping well up there in Carlo. Hope everybody's keeping well and has had a good week. How you doing, Johnny Brannigan, Kevin Maher? Hope everybody's keeping well and had a good week. Conleth and Deirdre Delaney, Roger Fowler's on there as well. Great to see everybody on here. So tonight's salmon night. We're going to tie some salmon flies for you tonight. Now, I am certainly no expert in salmon fishing. I don't Kieran Sherlock. I used to do a lot of salmon fishing when I was younger, living back in Wicklow. But since I moved to Kilkenny, and even though I'm on good salmon water here in the River Nore, I don't do as much as I should. And maybe this year now I might see a breakthrough. I might get out there and do a bit. How you doing, Kieran Flynn? I might get out there and do a bit, but do tie quite a few salmon flies. I'm going to tell you a couple of patterns here for you tonight that are tried, trusted, and tested. And we got a special guest on with us tonight tying a lovely salmon fly, not in this country, from another country. We'll have a chat to him later on. Desmond Paul's on there, and John Ditch. I hope you're keeping well, John. We also have a bit of tackle talk. We're going to head down to the man himself, Mr. Jason Corcoran, on the Blackwater, do a little bit of tackle talk around salmon tackle. I guess that's where I'm missing now. When I was doing salmon fishing many years ago, the setups, things weren't as complicated as they are now. So, how you doing, Jim Myler? You're very welcome. You're very welcome, Jim. So things have changed a lot in the last years in relation to salmon tackle lines, rods, and all that kind of stuff. So I popped down to Jason earlier on in the year. I've done a little video with him in the shop talking tackle around salmon fishers. That's coming up along later on as well. Dave Donovan won't be joining us tonight, unfortunately. How you doing, Elaine and Sorker's on there as well. Graham is on there. How'd you get onto that river today, Graham? I'd seen you live there this morning on the river. Hope it went well for you. Looked a bit frosty there, a bit cool. But Dave had to get a scan this evening on his back, so he's tied up for this evening. So hi, Donald Rafferty. So I have a bit of a question coming along in a little while as well. Just before we start, I want to apologise to all our YouTubers. Last week's video, I wasn't able to get it up on YouTube. There was some little technical glitch. That we have managed to sort now for this week's video, but last week's one I wasn't able to get it up, so I'm deeply sorry. You can go back onto the Facebook page and view it there, but I wasn't able to get up last week's one. Okay, so we're going to start with a lovely little power, and this one I've been fishing for many years when I was up around Wicklow fishing the East Coast rivers. How you doing, Gavin? Tom Ankertel there as well. Kieran Sherlock. Hope you're all keeping well. So this is one I used to use an awful lot when I was up living around Wicklow and saying those East Coast rivers, the Wicklow rivers, Wexford rivers, and one I still tie quite regularly. In the vise there, I have a size 12 Antrex double, and I'm going to start with a bit of thread. Okay, put a bit of thread on that there. Tie it in. Hope everyone's having a good week. If anybody wants to, Baltic. If anybody wants to, how you doing, Sean O'Shea? If anybody has any questions or anything like that, do shoot them across. If I can get to them, I can get to them. If not, send me a message. Also, if you want to be into tonight's flies and any flies that I've done during practice earlier on today, all you got to do is hit that share button. Hit the share button on the stream or send in a comment, and you will be in to win that prize on Tuesday or Wednesday. Okay, so I'm going to tie in a little bit of small oval silver there on top, making sure the waist is the full length of the hook. I'm going to come back down there roughly till my thread is in line with the points of the hooks. I'm going to give it 5 turns. Come up over the top, pinch it with your finger, back in between the double, and it just helps to tuck everything in and keep everything nice and tight, and back up underneath. Bit of tension on that there now. I'm actually going to have to undo that because I should have went a turn or two more with the thread, so I can just undo that. And I'm actually going to take that off there now for a minute. Bring the thread just down a bit, and I'll swap it around. And I'll put that back in the top there like so. Bring my thread a little bit lower. I find I had when I stopped it, thought I had actually stopped it too soon, and I did. When I go to tuck it in at the back, it doesn't quite, the tuck half loop doesn't meet up with the body. Blue Charm, lovely little salmon fly, lovely little fly to also catch a couple of see-through. Keeping a bit of tension on that oval tinsel coming up underneath. Couple of turns, take the tension off the oval tinsel, put it back onto the thread, and just secure them in up the body. And wind down. Take away your waist, leaving it up there. Oh, hi Bernard Mannion. Bernard De Souza is on there as well. Tony Rooney, hope you're all keeping well. Now, okay, next thing we're going to do is add a little yellow bit of Glow Bright number 10. Okay. So for this, I cut off a nice bit of a length. And we're going to tie that in the top also. And bring our thread back down a little bit. And I'm going to catch, I use the double because single is just a bit slow. Now, as I've often mentioned before, when tying with Glow Bright, try not touch the Glow Bright that's actually going to be going onto the fly, because you will lose the intensity of that colour. So I just came down along, and now I'm just winding back up till I meet that oval silver, and then I just tie it off there. Couple of extra turns to make sure it's nice and secure. How you doing, Declan Smith? And we'll tie that off there. Couple of turns just to tidy up all that loose stuff and bring your thread back down. So we got a nice, you can see, little butt and a tag there at the end of the fly. Now, next thing we're going to use for a tail is Golden Pheasant Crescent. Okay, so I've got some Golden Pheasant Crescents here, all prepared. Now, when I say prepared, a lot of the Golden Pheasant Crescent, it's getting more and more difficult to find golden pheasant. You know, it comes in a packet. It can often be, Paul Cahill, it is salmon flies tonight, Paul. So a lot of the golden pheasant crescent, it comes in a pack, and it can be slightly twisted. And when you're trying to mount golden pheasant, either for salmon fly for the topping of a classic or something like that, or for a tail, you know, there can be a bit of a twist, and it just can be very frustrating trying to get that for any, when you're using golden pheasant, for any tail, to get that nice natural curvature coming up off your back mount. So I always tend to steam them. I steam them first. I've mentioned that before about bronze mallard as well. And if you're putting in a bronze mallard wing, if this was a feather wing on this particular pattern, well then we would have done this. We would have steamed up bronze mallard. It's going to be a hair wing version. But it's a good habit to get into, and I've done a small little video for you there just to show you what I mean in relation to steam it.
So you can see our crescent here is just quite badly twisted up. But once I boil that kettle, holding the feather in over the steam, you can see it starting to take a bit of shape. And getting that lovely curvature coming back. See it now? Beautiful and straight. Nice natural shape for that tail, and always very good to prep feathers this way. Crescents could be very good for bronze mallard wings as well, to prep your bronze mallard to get it back. And there we go, perfect tail for our salmon fly.
So you can see what I did there by holding the feather over the kettle. Helps to bring that natural curvature back into the feather, and allows for a much easier tying it onto your fly. Okay, gives you that lovely natural. So what I do is I take my golden pheasant and I just strip off the down, stroke it back, get it nice and even, ready to mount in there on top. And you can see we get that nice natural curvature coming up off the hook. If I'd have tied with that if I tied this previously before I done any work with it, we wouldn't have been sitting up nice and straight, as you can see on top, coming up off the fly. How you doing, Dick? Coming up off the hook, you know, to be twisting, or you'd be manipulating and trying to get a twist. Now, when the fly is finished, it'll go back that way. But where you steam it, it brings it back lovely and clean. And it's good practice to have. Very, very effective process for bronze mallet too. Um, exactly, Paul. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very good practice for bronze mallet too. Okay, sometimes you can put a bit of ostrich hair, black ostrich hair in there now. I do sometimes. How you doing, Darius Simkis? I do sometimes put in a little bit of black ostrich hair. Um, a nice fine black ostrich hair there. But you know what? We'll throw one in. Take out one of the longer fibers of this. Just going to put one small one in there. Just going to secure that in there. Bring it back to where your thread is meeting the butt. And then a little turn or two of ostrich hair. That's plenty. And secure all that in. Hi Betty, hope you're keeping well. Betty Hayes is on there. Michael, two very internationally recognised salmon fly tyers. They'd probably be able to teach you a lot more tonight than I would. Indeed, there's lots of, how you doing, Patrick Phelan, Dylan Roberts. Indeed, there's lots of tyers on there. I'm sure that could do a better stamp on salmon flies than me, but I'll wing along here as I go. So now I'm going to take a bit of silver oval again. And I want to tie this up in underneath. So just go in between the two. In between the two hooks, and just use the hooks just to hold it in place for me. Secure it in. A little bit of black floss. This is Floss Uni Floss. And take a little snippet of this. And we're going to tie that in on top. Bringing up my thread now. Making sure I have a nice even underbody coming up along. It'll help with your floss. Getting a nice even floss work on that. Okay, take your floss, just massage it through the fingers a little bit to get it nice and flat. And just begin to get that body covered coming up along. Take your time. My fingers are a bit rough. I can see a frayed little piece there. But I'll nip that off there now in a second with it. Always stop it short, a little bit shorter of the eye. Allow for a bit of tying room there for everything else. Hi Robert Flaherty. Once I've got that done, I'll then take my silver rib and I'll rib up. Five turns. Perfect. Lovely. Secured and well. Nip that away. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a blue hackle. Now, I've tied this with blue grizzle. I've tied it with a real deep teal blue, kingfisher blue. This is a kind of more of a lighter blue. The last of two feathers, would you believe? I dyed this probably, I would say, maybe 20 years ago, nearly more. It's a really light blue, and it caught a lot of fish for a friend of mine on the Slaney over the years. Last two feathers, so I said I'd use one of them tonight and I'll keep the other one. I'll probably get two flies out of this, and then I'll get two out of the other one, and that'll be the end of that colour. There's no way I've tried to match it before unless I get very lucky. Just going to clean it down a little bit by stripping a bit of down off and get it out of my way. Okay, now you want sort of the hackles here coming back to roughly hit around the the points of the hook. So I'm just exposing the core there at a particular point, and just going to tie it in at that. A second now. Slipped around the wrong way. fold back that, couple of more turns, fold back your point, couple of more turns in there just to make sure it's well trapped in. And then I'm going to take away that. I like a lightish kind of a hackle on this, I don't. So I'm just going to catch those and bring them all out to one side, fold all those hackles, those fibres. You can either do it with your finger and thumb like so, or you can use the edge of a scissors to get them all back out. So we get good positioning on those hackles and start winding it up. And as we do each turn, we'll put touch and turns up there towards the eye and stroking those hackles into position on each turn. Thread in there, secured in, get in there and snip that away. One or two little hackles need to be just brought back. So say, this fly was originally tied, invented by A.H. Wood. I have a few notes down here, and it was originally tied with a feather wing. This is a hair wing I'm using on this one. Robbie, normally vineyards dies is normally what I do. What I'm going to do now, just with my thumb, is kind of just manipulate some of those hackle fibres around to the side and down a little bit, just making a nice seat there for my wing. Creating a nice seat just in behind that bead there for my wing. It was in the 1950s. In the 1950s, the hair wing was brought on by John Repath of Inverness. Now, natural squirrel tail here. I'm going to take a little pinch of this. Cutting right down to the butt. Thanks, Karen. Just offer it up, make sure I'm not too bulky. I don't like too much bulk on it. Okay. You can do a bit of stacking if you want. Some people like to stack, some don't. Stacking sometimes can leave it very clinical looking, if you know what I mean, rather than a nice natural wing. I'm mixed. Sometimes people would say, yeah, I like a stacked wing, some don't. So I'm going to come back just to the tips kind of coming around the tail. Once I'm happy with my size, swap hands over, trim off your squirrel tail, your squirrel wing, nice and square. Okay, there's two ways to tie these in. Just going over normal pinch loop, tie straight down. That wing is going to pull straight out. Okay, two ways to do it. One way is hold it up off the fly like so. Come up, pinch, go around your squirrel. Create a loop around your squirrel. Basically, I'll get it now in a second. Create a loop around your squirrel, go around it again, pinch, and then pull down. Okay, that will hold it in. Can be a little bit tedious and tricky at times. Another way of doing it, hold it down closer to the fly. Well, I just set my black thread here properly. Hold it down closer to the fly, exactly where you want to go in, and just go in halfway. Go in halfway on the stack, and then come over the top again. Okay, if I was tying in a much deeper one, I might go in there twice. Okay, and that little turn inside that wing will help troll that. When it's all finished and the fly is complete, well then it won't pull out. Okay, a little bit of blue flash in the wing, small little bit of blue flash. I used to use a little bit of blue holographic, and now we have just a little bit of blue microglint teased out. Just a little bit of blue flash just gives it a lovely little flick in that wing. Again, some people ask me for jungle cock cheeks, some don't. It's every fly angler's preference. So once I've teased that out, double it up, and now we got a lovely little bit of blue flash there. As you can see, you can just make it out. And I'm just going to put that in on top. And secure it in. We're ready then to finish up our fly. Take away the waste. Just trim them at random, so it's not too clinical looking. Jungle cock cheeks if you wish. I won't put them on this one. I'll bring my thread back up to the eye hook, and I start building the head backwards, from the eye back. Okay, don't build from the wing. Always bring your thread up to the eye and build your nice head, as you can see from the from the wing, or from the eye back towards the wing. Whip finish there. By the way, that thread is some simpler Fly 8.0. Snip that away, and then we're going to put in a little bit of Vineyards varnish just to seal up that head. Now, of course, you can add a little bit of varnish in there, and I do something Zap-A-Gap. If I was tying in a bigger wing, a bigger hair wing, I would put a little bit of Zap-A-Gap once I mount the wing. Put a bit of Zap-A-Gap in there, put the thread over it. It can help secure it in as well. Very important to get that wing secured. Otherwise, as soon as you go casting with it, it will come off, or a fish will pull it off, or you can just pull it off with your fingers, taking it out of the box. It's often happens. So I'm just going around the fly a little bit, making sure I've got a nice even layer of varnish on that. Lovely little fly. Say, great little salmon fly. One that I've had a lot of personal experience over the years on it. Also a great, thanks Jim. Also, thanks Aidan. Thanks Deirdre. Also, it's a great see-through fly. You know, so fishing those rivers down in Wexford, to Slaney and places like that, doing Navara, places where you're looking for salmon, it can be very, very effective. Sometimes I put my hand up behind the fly sometimes, folks, because especially when I'm using blue or dark colours, the blue shirt sometimes doesn't. Definitely. Lovely, Jamie. Yeah, what a river. Probably one of the most beautiful rivers in the world. But lovely little salmon double there. Thanks, Conlet. Lovely little salmon double there. Simple to tie. Just take your time, like any salmon flies. Take your time. Get your different proportions correct. You know, the likes of hair wings and stuff like that. Give it, thanks Orca, thanks Bernard. You know, take your time, get everything nice and clean, and there you go. There's the first one. So folks, that's going to go up there now, and I've got a hanging thing here to hang that varnish dries in that head. Don't forget to win tonight's flies. All you got to do is share the stream. So hit that share button, and on Tuesday I will do a draw as I always do once. Thanks, Dick. Once once the YouTubers get their chance. So we're going to move on now to our next little segment, okay? And we're going to head over to Lithuania. Okay, so Lithuanians do quite a bit of salmon fishing over there, you know. And our good friend Rocas, who's been on the show a few times, is from Flytying, is back on with us tonight and kindly agreed to do one of his favourite salmon flies, and it's quite traditional to our style of tying as well. So he's a lovely tyer. Don't forget to follow his YouTube. He's a lovely little business over there in Lithuania. Very interesting place to go. Hopefully I'm going to get there this year to fish grayling trout and stuff. But before we go, I meant to mention this to you last week, folks. A good friend of ours here in Pescari Fly, Lubos Rosa from the Czech Republic, probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, river angler to grace this planet. Still a young man, only man to hold World Youths, Senior Europeans and World Senior gold medals. Wrote a book on fly fishing, not just about competition fly fishing or river fishing. There's lakes, there's everything there to do with fly lines. His opinion on everything. Lubas is a genius, world renowned. His book is out at the moment. We got the English versions here in the store, so if you're interested in a really good read this spring, check out those books. They're absolutely fantastic. Lots of good fly patterns in there. Really, really worth it. Thanks, Lubas. He kindly let us sell it for him. So they're there in the store. Make sure you check them out. Okay, we're going to head over to Lithuania now for a little while, and I'm going to get a break, and I'm going to set up for the next salmon fly. Thanks, Neil. Yeah, it is, John. It's a really nice balance in that fly. Yeah, I love it. It's just a lovely fly. So we're going to head over to Lithuania and visit Rocas, and I'm going to start setting up for the next salmon fly to come back. So stay tuned, and I'll see you all in a few minutes. I'm just going to have to click a few buttons here now because I've got lots of buttons to click tonight. I probably could do with a producer here, but I'm going to click a few buttons here, and I'll see you all in a few minutes, folks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rocas from Flytying, and today I'm going to be tying a hairwing variation of the Thunder and Lightning salmon fly. A lot like many other modern salmon flies, the Thunder and Lightning started as a feather-winged fly, something that we now call a classic salmon fly. However, the hairwing variations have been very popular all across the world recently, and Lithuania is no exception. This is a quick and easy fly to tie that has provided some great results for our fly fishermen. Start by securing a gold oval tinsel at the front of the hook and move it backwards to where the hook starts to split in two. Make a couple of turns backward with the oval tinsel to form a tag. Once you have done so, put your finger on the tag so that it doesn't unravel, and then put the tag end of the oval tinsel between the two hooks and secure it that way. Tie the tinsel on the underside of the hook, and that way the gold oval tag will always stay in place. After doing so, move your thread backwards right next to the gold tag that you just formed. I'm using a single feather from the crest of a golden pheasant to form a tail that's about a body in length. Secure the tail with a couple of wraps and make sure that you like the way it's sitting. If you're happy with the position, just simply secure it by making a few more turns over the tail. I'll be using the exact same oval tinsel that I used for the tag to form the rib on the fly. A black floss is going to be used to form the body of the fly. Secure it alongside the tail and the oval tinsel. With all of these materials tied in, make touching turns to the front of the hook, forming a smooth, even body with the thread as you go. Before winding on the floss, make sure to brush it between your fingers a few times to flatten the floss so that it lays nice and flat on the hook. After doing so, just make touching turns to form a nice smooth body. Make sure to leave some space at the front of the hook. An orange cock neck feather is going to be used to hackle the body. Tie it in by the stem and then cut off the remainder of the stem once you're happy with it. Use your hackle pliers to get a hold of the feather and start making evenly spaced out turns towards the tail. Catch in the last strap with the oval tinsel. Make sure that the oval tinsel crosses the feather, that way securing the hackle firmly to the hook. After doing so, make evenly spaced turns all the way back to where your thread is. Now you can secure the gold oval tinsel and snip it off close. Once that is done, you can cut off the remaining tag end of the feather that you used to hackle the body. I'm using brown Arctic fox for the underwing, and I'm going to be tying it slightly longer than the hook itself. Secure it on the hook with a pinch wrap, and then make more thread turns to firmly secure the fur on the hook. Press your thumb on the base of the wing to make it spread out. This gives a much nicer profile to the fly. Now you can cut off the tag ends of the fur right next to where your thread is. Cover any remaining hairs by simply wrapping your thread over them. I'm gonna be using a light blue cock neck hackle for the secondary hackle of the fly. However, pretty much anything blue works for this pattern. Tie the feather in by the tip and then bend back the tag end of the feather and make a few more thread turns to really secure it in place. Gently brush the hackle fibers of the feather with your scissors to form them backwards. This makes the hackle lie down much nicer on the hook. Make 2 or 3 turns while constantly brushing back the hackle fibers so that you don't trap any of them while you're winding on the feather. Then simply secure the feather with your thread and cut off the tag end. Once again, you can cover up anything that remains with just making a few thread turns. For the second wing, I'm going to be using Arctic Runner instead of the Fox. I love Arctic Runner because it has a lot of movement in the water without adding too much volume to the fly. Try to make sure that the black wing is slightly longer than the brown underwing that you tied in before. Once you firmly secure the wing to the hook, you can use your scissors to cut off any remaining hairs. Tidy up your head with some more thread turns. Once you're happy with it, complete the fly with a whip finish. Cover the entirety of the head with varnish and let the varnish dry. Once it has dried, make sure to add another coat of varnish to the head of the fly. If you haven't yet, you should really try out the hair ring variant of the Thunder and Lightning. It is a simple pattern to tie, and it's also one of the most productive salmon flies in our waters.
Back, just turning on the sound there, folks. Hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed that one. That was Rocas there from Lithuania. Just while we were doing that there, I was actually correct. That's what I love about doing things like this is that and Norman Murray sent me a message there that the charm was actually attributed to a Mr. Brown, but a more ornate pattern of the blue charm appeared. But the name of the tire was partially obliterated, as it was the date of it was being tied in 1835 or 1838, and his name was William. The name was William. So thanks for that there, Norman. It's always great to learn new stuff. Brilliant stuff. Thanks a million. Absolutely, Michael. There's always something nice about a well-tied salmon fly. I see a few guys were talking about singles there. The next fly is on a single, and we're going to do our trivia here. The trivia question for this one, actually. Okay, so this is a bomber. Okay, it's a salmon dry fly. How you doing, Norman? It's a salmon dry fly called the bomber. The man that invented it actually did. The story goes that he flicked a cigar butt into the river over in the US, and a salmon come up and took it, and he went home and he tied a fly, and it hence became known as the bomber. And but what I want to know now, if I can't see it, I'll go back and check it in afterwards. Thanks, Kevin. What I want to know is, what is that man's name? What is the man who invented the bomber fly? What's his name? Okay, first person in on the stream. Don't forget, there's lots of streams going, so first person in on my main stream will be the winner. Tonight's prize is a nice selection of our very own Arctic fox. Okay, dyed in lots of colours. We're going to send out a selection of that to whoever is the first person in with the name of the man who invented the bomber fly. Hopefully, I'm correct in my research, and I have his correct name. No, sorry, Graham. Graham is the first in with the answer tonight, but it wasn't William Bonner. Yes, Bernard, but I want his full name. What's his first name? I want his full name. So I got this single. This is a mustard size number 6 single in the vise here. And I want to put in a nice base of Kevlar here. Okay, so I'm using a nice, strong, fine Kevlar thread. Put in a nice base. Okay, we're going to start off with our wing, our forward wing. We're going to use white calf tail here. And I'm going to select a nice little pinch of that. Again, you can stack it if you like, or you can go without stacking it and use more natural. Again, I find that stacked look is very clinical. Nice little pinch up there at the head. Should be roughly around the length of the body. They say the forward wing should be longer than the back. Trap it in there. My buck tail is, or my calf tail is getting very small. There's not going to be much need to trim that. A couple of long ones there. But normally what you would do is you'd hold it up, trim it back at an angle, get a nice taper on it, so we don't end up with a big square lump on it. Secured in well. Make sure you've left enough room to put in a head. Can be tied on straight-eyed hooks or up-eyed hooks. Depends on what your fancy is. Plenty of people getting it right. I'll go back on, folks, and because it's hard to do it all to tie the fly, so look at materials here and look at who got the first correct answer. But I'll go back on and have a look. I did see some correct answers, and indeed his name was Reverend Elmer Smith in the 1960s. Tied the bomber, very popular fly. In the last number of years here in Ireland, I know I have been getting a lot more requests for them. A lot of guys fishing surface flies. There's also a caddis. There's also a dry fly caddis that is quite good for salmon as well. Let's just clean out any furs that are down near the bottom. Let's say I'm going to tie this in just a little bit shorter. Then the forward one. Back roughly there, halfway between the point and the barb. Secured in well. Oh, Richard, don't talk to me. Yeah, don't talk to me. I did a couple of these earlier on today, and yeah, they are messy flies. So just taper back that waist piece there, and then wrap it up. Richard Odlum there, another great tire. Another fantastic salmon fly tire, Richard. And Richard will be, see it being announced there during the week, Richard's going to be at the Irish Springs Angling Fair on the 30th of April to the 1st of May down in Mooncoin. This show is shaping up. I see Craig Barr is locked in, Henry Gilby, Richard Odlum, Darius Simkis. There's a list of Flytyers. I think the Flytyers are up to 15, 16, maybe even more. There's going to be lots of trade stands for coarse, pike, salmon, trout. It's going to be an absolute amazing show. So whatever you do, folks, that Maybank holiday weekend, keep your Saturday and Sunday free for keep your Saturday and Sunday free. Keep your Saturday and Sunday free for that show. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to be down there. We're bringing the whole shop, the whole shebang. Going to be down there. Time flies. Going to be doing some talks and demos. Lots of other guys doing talks and demos. I know Craig Barr is going to be down there, who'll be very interested in doing some stuff on still waters and stuff like that for any Stillwater fans out there. And you'll have Stefan Jones talking sea trout. I'm definitely going to make it hopefully try and get to have a chat with Stefan, and lots of other guys going to be there doing talks and things like that. So it's going to be a fantastic show. James Hope, no, you can't fish on the day, but there will be lots of demonstrations on the lake as regards, using different rods, double-handed, single-handed. There'll be casting competitions. It's going to be an amazing show. Keep an eye on the Facebook page there, and of course, give it a share, folks, if you can. Ned's making a great effort down there to put on this show after a very tough couple of years, and it'll be great now with restrictions being dropped and stuff like that to go down there and really enjoy. Yeah, it's going to be a great show, Richard. Really enjoy yourselves and have a chat and meet up. And I hope a lot of you people get to come. There's so many people who watch the show every week that I never actually get to meet or I haven't got to see. So, I hope everyone will come down and say, oh, thank God, we get to meet in person rather than having to listen to me babble on every Saturday night. So really looking forward to that. Okay, so once I've got that into that position, we're going to add on our deer hair body. Now, normally you can put a bit of tape on both of those to keep them out of the way, and that is a really good idea. But of course, I forgot my tape. So we're just going to go ahead, and if I happen to cut off, there's nothing worse when you do all the deer hair and then you're trimming the deer hair and cut that hackle or cut some of those wings away. But look, we're going to plow on. I'm not going to go downstairs. We still got quite a bit to get through. So doing the deer hair, okay? A good stiff deer hair is always a good thing to have when you're doing the bombers, okay? It'll make your life a lot easier. It's a nice stiff piece of deer hair, piece of my own deer hair. Very good. And you'd cut that off and you'd wrap it on like normal, and it can be quite good. Good stuff, Peter. Can be quite good. It's going to be messy no matter what. Okay. But there is another way I do it. I can find to be a little bit easier. So I have a deer hair zonker here. These are one of our own deer hair zonkers. You'll find them in the shop. I need a lot of the materials we use here tonight, or for salmon materials, we do have a lot of them in the shop. Okay, I get a bull clip, and what I do is I clip in over my deer hair. Take a nice large chunk of it, and I trim off that zonker. Means I can just do it a lot faster and get a lot more done, rather than adding a pinch, pushing back, stacking, all that kind of stuff. This way just works out that little bit. This little way. Yeah. So that underwing in Rocas was Arctic Fox Grey. The overwing was Arctic Runner. I also like using a bit of cashmere goat, and our next fly will actually be putting a bit of cashmere goat as the wing. So once I split my thread, I take my bull clip, place in the deer hair, and then just pull out the thread off the blade of the bull clip, keeping pressure on that thread, because if you let any slack go, all that will drop to the floor. Keep the pressure on the thread and just nice and evenly space out your deer hair. As you can see, we're getting a lovely long flap. But keep the pressure on the thread. If you don't keep the pressure on the thread, your two fingers in your left hand on that thread, it will fall to the floor. So you keep good control. Nice tension on that. Level it all out, it looks like so. Ricky, that could be a very dangerous live show on Saturday night. So now I'm just spinning my thread bobbin, but I'm also pinching the thread just below the deer hair with my finger and thumb to stop any shaking or movement coming up into that double loop that we created, so it just doesn't drop to the floor. Okay, good thing. So just keep spinning away. You can then slowly release the finger and thumb on your left hand, and it starts to spin a little bit. You get a bit of extra tension. Okay, it takes a few moments to get this right, but I find it can be. Oh, I nearly lost it there. That was close. And you can see it now starting to spin, getting nice and tight in there. Stretch your thread a little bit, get the spin going up along, and it's just really securing in that deer hair. Give it a little bit of a pull. So we get a nice big, lovely Dublin brush there. I might give it one more spin. I gotta actually pull back the chair now at this stage to give it a bit of a spin. And there we go. Everything gets well trapped. You got a nice Dublin brush. And now it allows me, as I'm tying up along, I can stroke back, same as what we'd seen Rocas do with the hackle and I do with the Air hackler on. I can stroke back those and just expose the core of the Dublin brush. Keep the pressure on the thread, of course. And start back there at your tail. Stroking everything back. Touch and turns the whole way up that fly. Give it another spin if you wish. Start to get up along that Dublin brush. Again, get everything back. Working your way up the body of that fly. Oh, well, I'll escape. That was a close one because I'd spun it so much the actual the thread broke, but I've got enough here left to really get in there and get that up along. But I'm going to have a job now adding the thread again in a second. So it gets nice and messy up here around the head. Trying to get as much stacked in there as I can to make sure. I'll tidy all that up there now in a second. So as Richard was saying, nice mess. This is where a little bit of tape would help to hold back that, keep those wings out of place, especially that forward wing. It's quite a large lump of deer hair. One more turn in there at that head. There we go. Just going to expose that little piece of leftover eye that we had left over there. And once I got that done, I'll hold everything back with my left hand. And I go to the black tying thread, which I would have been switching to anyhow. And this is where you need 3 hands when problems like this happen, but that's okay. The Dublin brush will be fine. Just get a bit of room there to get this done. There we go. Couple of turns in there. Sugar it came out. That's the one thing about live shows, you can't press pause. These things happen to all flyers. No matter how hard we just get a bit of tension on that. There we go. And of course the thread bobbin decides to do a little loop around itself on me. You say when it rains, of course. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to sort out this thread bobbin now and get back on track. So you can see how that Dublin brush can be convenient. And we're there. Can be convenient to speed up the process just a little bit. I'll make sure that Dublin brush is nice and tight now again. Bring it up there to where the thread is. Turn the thread in, secure it in. Expose where your head is. Whip finish and take away your tying thread. Now at this stage I would have been whip finishing with the Kevlar, and my next section I would have been adding in the black tying thread, but that's okay. We escaped. Could be worse, we could have been going back to the start. Take away your thread. Absolutely, yeah. Now, before we move on further, let's just stroke back all those. Get them all standing straight for ourselves. We'll do a little bit of brushing on it later on and be ready to do our... Now, curved scissors is a must for this. Okay, so I got a curved scissor here, one of our own curved scissors. As you can see, it'll help get the nice shape in your body. Start rough, I don't care. Start at the top. Make sure you avoid that forward wing. And I just take off the larger sections all around. There is no fast way of doing this. It's just take your time. try not to cut something that shouldn't be cut. Okay, taking your time. I always like to work into the butt section. Forget about the front section for a minute. Work into that butt section and take it down a piece at a time. Good sharp scissors. Try not to clip the hook with your scissors and blunt it up. As you can see, nice and messy. Keep taking away any of those waste bits there down the back that might confuse you a bit. Sometimes I go in just a little bit that way for some of those ones that are very close to the hackles or to the wing, and just take them out individually. Just helps me get a good visual on the shape I'm looking for. So you're looking for a nice cigar shape. You see we're getting nicely tapered down on the back of our fly there now. And I'll do a bit more on the underneath. Getting it all nice and tight now. And I'll work my way around up to that forward wing. Just letting the curve of the scissors create that nice cigar shape for yourself. And of course you can do it, there's lots of colour combinations for these flies as well. Up the top now. That forward wing could have been a little bit more dense. There it is. We're nearly there. We're not far away. There's going to be some great salmon fly tyres at the show as well in Ned's. There'll be, say, saltwater, sea trout, bass tyres. John Monroe is going to be there. Trout, pike, the whole shebang, folks. So it's going to be something there for everybody. Be great to see it being a success. And we'll just taper the front piece back in a little bit. And again, just as I did the back, just be careful up around that front that we don't cut away that wing. Once I start getting fairly close, there is deer hair everywhere. Try not to cut it in, that shouldn't be close. I give it a little bit of a brush just to squeeze out any little bit of deer hair that might be actually sticking in the wrong position or sticking out and that's just looped over inside. Expose a bit and then give me an opportunity. Give me an opportunity. Thanks for that there, Dylan. That's good advice. Don't cut it that shouldn't be cut, lads, because it's lads and ladies, so to say. It's never a good thing to cut something that shouldn't be cut. And it happens. How many times is there anyone out there that can't hold up their hands and say they're cutting something, they're just nearly finished that one fly that's just a wing that just caused a lot of frustration or something like that, and you're just trimming away the waste, the next thing you hear a bang on the floor, thread bobbin hits the floor, and oh no, everything comes undone. I'd say there's not a fly tying on the planet that can't relate to that. Just taking my time, getting a nice even shape on that body. Nice cigar, good shape. I could keep going here, but I'll stop now in a minute, folks, I promise. Just making sure I get a nice shape on it. Front wing could have been a little bit more prominent, but still okay. Still okay. Now we'll go back to our black thread. Sean, you can order away if you want. They're about €15 a piece, Sean. I know. Yeah, I tried a good few of these last year now. A lot of guys using these last year. Different colours and stuff. Natural on the orange. By the way, the hackle I've got here is a dark golden olive, Corab golden olive. And when you turn the hackles up, bring the hackles up the fly, you want the natural curvature facing forward, okay? Natural curvature facing forward, like so. Wind it up. Right up there. Get it up in there at the head. There's going to be one or two little strands now. There's going to be one or two little strands there once I get a tie on this, but I'm going to fold it all back in a second. Just get it up there like so. Fold back your hackle down over the body, and a couple of more turns in there just to trap in that hackle. Stay good and tight. Take away your waist. Those couple of little hackles, I'll just tidy them up before I finish the fly. Or fibre, should I say. Make sure everyone's okay up there at the head. Not too bad. Desmond Paul's on there with a message, folks, about his the great work he's doing there for cancer research. I'll concentrate on this now and get this finished before I read it out, Desmond. Whip finish up there. Good tug back on it there, get a nice tight finish on it. Not overly happy with the head as regards the front wings. Could have been a bit more stronger up there. We'll do the trick all the same. Could have been a bit longer. They should be a little bit longer than the back, but we'll do the trick all the same. Put in a bit of varnish up there. When this fly was originally invented, it was actually invented to be subsurface. It wasn't invented to be a dry fly. He invented it to be subsurface. A little bit of varnish up there. Just remove any excess off the outer edge. And there you have it. One little bit of something just. That's the bomber. Dry salmon fly. Thanks, Robert. Not the greatest time, Robert, but not too bad. Not overly happy with that front one. As you see, the back one's much more denser. The front one should actually be a little bit longer and a bit more denser than that one. But yeah, it's a good salmon dry fly. Been very productive over the last 2 seasons. Well, I've been tying a lot of them over the last two seasons. So guys have been obviously catching on them. You can see the one I did earlier on. The front hackle is a little, or the front the front buck tail or calf tail is a little bit more prominent. Okay, so that's just the way I kind of like it. It's a little bit short on it, but that's you go. That's what it is. How you doing, Ernie? Do you use the grey fly in the cola? No whiskey tonight for me, Dennis. No whiskey for me tonight. I'm actually on the good juice tonight. Lemons and limes and water. Running a 16k race tomorrow up in Abbey Leaks with Mark Driver. We've gone mad into the running in the last couple of months, and we're actually running our first race tomorrow. 16k, 10-mile run up in Abbey Leaks, up around Ballyrowan. Looking forward to that one. First time I've ever actually done it like that, so really looking forward to it. That's on tomorrow, so I'm going to do the show, drink lots of water, and get to bed early tonight. So no whiskey for me tonight. But there we go, folks. That's the bomber. Another 2 bombers into the little tray there. For anyone that shares the stream tonight, you will be in it for a chance to win that. Thanks a million, Kenneth, John, Richard. We're going to do a lovely cascade. I have a lovely cascade that's very effective on the Nor for you after I managed to make a bit of room here and clean up all this mess. But I am going to head down. We're going to head down to Jason Corcoran's there now. I met Jason up during the summer. I say I'm a bit out of touch when it comes to materials and gear. Nice and hilly. It's not too bad now, Robbie. There'll be a few hills on it around there. Thanks, Graham. Graham says all forgiven. Bring back David O'Donovan. Yeah, Dave will be back with us next week, folks. We miss Dave. But pop down to Jason. I'm a bit out of touch when it comes to the tackle that's currently being used, but there's no better man that's going to fill us in on the right information. It's Jason Corcoran down at Blackwater Shrimp Salmon Fishery. And pop down for a chat with him there. So I'm going to leave you with Jason for a few minutes. We're going to come back then and tie that cascade before I go do a bit of stretching and drinking water and stuff and get to bed earlier on. So enjoy Jason, folks, and I will be back, which is in a few moments, to tie the last fly overnight. So how you doing, everybody? Welcome to another tackle talk here with Scary Fly. Hope you're all enjoying tonight's show. So tonight has been all about salmon fishing. Now, and as I've said before, I'm not afraid to say it, I know damn all about salmon fishing. Done a little bit in my time, but not enough to justify knowing any great information or in-depth into what tackle and setups and stuff like that they use. But there is a man that who does know his stuff. Jason Corcoran down in the Blackwater Trout and Salmon Lodge. Is a guru, full-time guide, daily since he could walk, and has a fantastic setup down in the Blackwater. And we're here this evening to have a chat to Jason and do some tackle talk around salmon fishing. So let's go inside the Jason's shop and have a chat and see how we can go about and do this. Hey Jason.
Hi Peter, how are you?
Keeping?
All right, yourself?
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
How's tricks?
Good now, good.
That's good. Business going good?
Yeah, busy as always.
That's good.
Yeah. So,
Fine setup here, Jason?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Stuff.
Just look, it has all the essentials that anyone needs to go fishing.
The man himself, Mr. Jason Corcoran from Blackwater Fly Fishing. Is that right, Jason?
That's right, Peter.
That's the shop.
Yeah.
And we're just about 150, maybe 200 yards from the Blackwater River here at the moment. How's the fishing been, Jason?
It hasn't been too bad. Look, everywhere has been a little bit tougher this season.
Right.
Look, it's just purely down to lack of rain, really. There's very little rain since the month of June, even so. Yeah, so look, as you know, salmon fishing is very dependent on river levels being correct all the time. Yeah, so that's all it boils down to. Look, we're due a bit of rain for the last few days next week. So
of course, we've only a week to go now, and
the
season is done then.
Exactly.
Hard to believe, isn't it?
Then, yeah. It doesn't belong going. Like, that's why it's always very important for guys when, if you can get out, go out.
Yes, of course.
So.
And of course, important then for business, lads running fisheries, having tackle shops that,
lads
are on the rivers.
It is, exactly. But that's the thing about fly fishing. Fly fishing doesn't finish at the end of the season.
No, of course.
You can continue, for anyone that wants to take up fly fishing, the winter is a great time to start learning so that you're ready.
It is, and we always preach that, it's the time to take everything apart, assess what happened over the last year, all the hardship and everything else you gave yourself, and spend the whole winter trying to perfect it,
exactly.
Do your casting, do your fly tying, and the whole lot. So tonight, as I said, it's about salmon, and I'm first one to put my hand up and say I know damn all about salmon fishing. Okay, caught plenty of salmon in my time, nymphing, which is a whole other topic. We're not going to delve into tonight. Maybe that could be one for down the road. But as regards, let's call it the traditional approach to salmon fishing on rivers. I have zero knowledge about, and that's why we came to see Mr. Jason Corcoran.
Very good.
Thanks, Jason, for joining us tonight.
No problem.
So, Jason, as I said, I know nothing.
Right. Okay.
Where do I start?
Well,
I've got loads of questions. I've been so looking forward to this for ages. I know, we've had conversations over the last couple of years. I've met her, I've heard you on the phone talking about salmon gear, rods, switch rods, spay rods, all that kind of stuff, and it's just out over my head. But I was looking forward to this, a sit down and a breakdown of basically salmon tackle.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right, okay.
Now I know the prices are endless.
Oh, endless.
Same as trout fishing.
Exactly.
Endless.
Exactly.
But let's just start with the rod. Let's start with the rod.
Well,
simple thing. What's the difference between a switch and a spay rod?
Well, a switch and a spay rod, a switch rod is just, basically, it's a small double-handed rod.
Okay.
So they kind of normally average anything from kind of 11 to 12.5 feet is your switch rod, and anything from kind of 12.5 foot up to 15 foot is your double-handed spay rod, as we call it. But I suppose, look, when you're starting off, the most important question you need to ask yourself is, when am I going to be doing my most fishing? Am I going to be fishing in the springtime?
Okay.
Am I going to be fishing in the autumn time and big rivers?
And this will also depend on where you live.
It will depend on where you live. So you need to, the other question you need to ask yourself is, what rivers am I going to be fishing?
Okay.
Am I going to be fishing big rivers? Am I going to be fishing small little rivers? And that's going to determine what kind of a setup that you'll require, that you're going to need. And yeah, like I said, you need to ask yourself then is, what time of the year am I going to be fishing?
Right.
You know, because obviously
that will determine the rod, whether it's a switch or a spade, length or
well, it will, and it'll determine your line weight. It's going to determine like what, you know, even down to the size of the flies that you're going to be fishing. So that's going to determine, you know, how heavy a fly line that I'm going to need for that rod. But the most important thing in fly fishing, obviously, is regardless of what rod and what setup you have, the most important thing is that your line and your rod balances together.
Okay. Same as trout fishing.
It's exactly.
But I would imagine so more crucial in salmon fishing because of the weights of the line, the bigger rods, the bigger lines, and the bigger distances you're looking at.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, because obviously, like when someone is starting out and and they're beginning, they have the mentality straight away that they want to cast as far as they can possibly do that. And when you have a typical setup like that, it's very, very important that you have the line balanced with that rod.
Okay.
And there's so many different ranges these days, like between the old AFTM 6, 7, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nowadays, it's kind of a lot of it is more moving to grams and grains, which I prefer myself because you get a.
So you're talking grams and grains. You're talking about the weight of the fly line.
The weight of the fly line that's suitable for that.
So we're not talking about, say, a 7 weight or a 6 weight or a 10 weight or 12 weight. We're now talking about grams and grains instead of those figures.
Like there can be a huge difference. Like a lot of the older rods, they could be rated for a 7 to 9.
Yeah.
Like if you look at it,
that's what I'm used to as a troutman.
Exactly. But if you look at the weight difference between a 7 weight and a 9 weight, it can be astronomical.
Right.
It can be huge. So the grams and the grains, if you get that onto your rods, go have a look at your rods. Have a look roughly at what kind of a setup you're going to be requiring. I'd always emphasise like get in contact with a professional fly casting instructor or professional guide before you go to a tackle shop. Yeah. Or just pick up a friend, ask somebody that knows something about it. That way you have an idea. I'm going to be fishing on the black water in June. Like a 12.5 foot 7/8 weight is going to do me absolutely perfect, and I don't need to spend any more money on that.
That's
because
I imagine that if you don't get the right kind of information and you do walk into a tackle shop and look for salmon setups, it could get quite expensive, and then be left then have gear that's just completely doesn't do the job.
No, exactly.
Which is no good,
And like that's where Scandi lines and Skagit lines comes into it then also, like because people like in they've been kind of half brainwashed at times about a Skagit line. It'll give you huge distance, but like it's not suitable for low water conditions. It's only more suitable for spring fishing. Again, that's why I go back, get in contact with someone that knows something. Give us a call here anytime, and you will be advised on what's more suitable.
What's a typical setup starting with the rod? Where do we go? Where do we start?
Yeah, well, look, a typical setup, I suppose. Look, you're looking at, this is a Vision Anki. It's a 13 foot. It's an 8 weight. Rated for 30 to 38 grams. Now that's your recommended line rating. That's on it.
See that there.
You see there, 30 to 38 grams. So I would always, I'd always tend to go to the higher gram rating. So I'd like something 36 grams in and around it. But look, everyone is different. They might like a heavier line. They might like a lighter line on it. But look, a good average. If you go kind of 36, nearly into the middle, we'll say.
Okay.
I know it's in and around.
And when you talk about the spectrum there, what's the spectrum? What's the lowest to the highest, or?
Yeah, well, like 30 grams is going to be light on that rod, like.
Okay.
And 38 grams then might be a little bit, you might be overloading the rod a little bit, but you shouldn't be.
Right.
So I'd stick to in around just the other side of the middle range, the middle of it. So I'd be kind of putting 36 gram line on that.
On a 13 foot. And that's the spey rod?
It is exactly. Yeah, okay. Exactly. Right. So, it's your typical double-handed spey rod now, and that's going to do you on most rivers in Ireland.
Okay.
You know, so you don't really need anything bigger than that.
And then hardware for the bottom of this here, reel-wise, what are you kind of looking at?
Look, at the end of the day, as long as there's a decent enough drag in it, some of the cheapest fly reels out there will do you absolutely fine. Like,
okay.
This one's a Vision Deep reel. I know now this is only the 7/8. I'm actually sold out of the 9/10s at the moment, but I sell the world of these, and they're a fantastic little reel. In the 9/10 version, they've more than sufficient room on them to put a couple of 100 yards of backing on it.
Of course, you need a lot of backing because
Yeah.
it's going to run, and you said the drag system is very important.
Drag system is perfectly fine on this. It's a very, very good drag system. I've never had an issue on that with any customer. Like, you can get them for about 100 quid, 110 quid.
Nice, okay, that's pretty reasonable.
And that is pretty reasonable. Like, look, everybody likes a bit of flash at times.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
You know, you can spend as much as you want. Like,
Of course.
so you can spend up to, Jesus, if you want to spend up to 1,000 quid in a reel, you can. But there is no need for it. The most important thing, again, is your line and your rod are matched.
But you still need a reel that's going to do that job, that has a drag system.
Exactly. It's
and that can
yeah.
take enough line that you're going to need.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like, but
fit the line properly.
But starting off, you don't need to spend a fortune. You know, on the higher end side of it, then, like, you have like the NAM rods. Like, this would be a very high end rod. It's a 13.3.
Okay.
That's an 8 weight now. Again, it's a carbon fibre rod again. But it's wrapped in graphene. They're very, very light. They're an extremely light double-handed rod now. They are.
Right.
So that's your top end rod. Then, like, you're looking at just under 1,000 quid.
For the angler that spends more time salmon fishing.
Yeah,
obviously.
exactly. Like, you know, but like, you know, there's.
And when you're talking action in fly rods, just as jumping in mind, when we're still on fly rods, what kind of a typical action are you looking in that fly rod?
Again, it depends on the angler. Most rods these days, a lot of rods these days are medium to fast action rods. Okay. So like, the Vision there now would be kind of a medium to fast action. That's a very fast action rod. It's got very, very quick recovery on it. So basically, when you're casting out your line, and after you come to your stopping point and the line is shooting out, the rod will recover back to its original position a lot quicker than the cheaper rods will say. But again, it's totally down to the angler. A lot of traditional anglers now, they like a more medium to slow action rod because they, you know, you tend to feel a lot more with it.
Right.
And the fast action rods, you know, they're designed for distance. They're very good for turning it over into the wind, etc. So that, again, it's down to on what the angler needs. So
then down to what goes on the reel. Now, this is a part that I just haven't been able to get the grasp with.
Yeah.
The lines. Between Skagit and Spey and weights and grains and all that kind of stuff. Give me throat gear any day. And I talked, I know it inside out and backwards. And I suppose just it's a lack of education on my behalf. When it comes to fly lines, where do you start? Where do you start? Like, if I was here right now and I was saying, Jason, I want to get a rod, I need a reel, what in the hell am I going to be walking away with as regards to fly lines?
Yeah, again, it'll go back to you telling me what river you're going to be fishing, where you're going to be fishing, what type of fishing you're going to be doing.
Right.
So, like, if you're just looking generally at typical salmon fishing with, you know, size 8, 10s, 12s, 14 doubles, flies, that's all you're going to be using, well, your line is going to determine, you know, your fishing as well also. Okay. So, like, but typically here now, like that, like, you know, an average shooting or running line, a coated running line is good. I wouldn't push a mono shooting line onto someone that's starting out. Okay. A little bit more difficult to handle.
So you're talking about running line as being that narrow, flat piece of line.
Exactly, yeah.
That's on most fly lines anyway, before we get into the belly or the tapers.
Exactly.
So on a running line, then obviously you have to add something to the running line to make it work.
Exactly, like, but a coated running line is a good way to start because that's your handling line. That's going to be the part that you're going to have in your hand. Right, and then you're probably looking at a shooting head, a typical shooting head. Look, there's an abundance of shooting heads out there, but the ones I find the best is Rio, Airflow, very good, especially the Scandi Compact. I find that as an outstanding line.
Why is it called Scandi? I'm asking a stupid question, you know.
It's a Scandi line, basically, Scandinavian line.
Okay.
Whereas a Skagit lines are a lot shorter and a lot fatter, basically. They're just designed to turn over bigger flies, bigger tubes, tube flies, weighted tubes.
Right.
You know, they're designed to get down. Whereas Scandi lines are more, they're more for your summer fishing, basically.
Okay.
You know, your light
So if
presentation.
you're fishing spring, autumn, heavy water, you might go for skagit.
Exactly.
If you're fishing summer water, then
Yeah.
you're going to go for something like a
Exactly,
Scandi.
exactly.
Okay.
Because, you know, you want to have, especially in clear, bright days, and, you know, you're going to have that mirror on the water. You don't want a big plop and a big splash from your line hitting into the water. So you want a fairly decent Scandi line that's got a nice front taper onto the head, so you're getting a nice, delicate presentation. So, yeah, again, Rio, Scandi, Gale Force, all fantastic lines. Then you're going into integrated shooting heads versus your shooting head. So
Explain.
have to
Ron there now.
So
Ron on that point there.
your standard shooting head, basically, you'll have to have a running line, and your shooting head will be separate, which would be these two guys.
Yeah.
Basically, your running line, which is your handling line,
Yeah.
that will connect
To your shooting head.
to your shooting head
Yeah.
via loop-to-loop connection, which is perfectly fine. But you can go down the range of an integrated shooting head, basically.
Which is a whole lot in the one.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's whole lot in the one. You've no loop-to-loop connection, because loop-to-loop connections can be a little bit dangerous if you're not used to them, because you know, especially when you're trying to land a fish and you're just winding the line in, and the next thing the loop-to-loop connection goes in through the tip of the rod.
Yeah.
The fish then decides to turn around and take one last bolt out, and those loop-to-loop connections you'll hear going clink, clink, clink out through the top.
All right. Yeah,
The
I can
rings,
imagine. Yeah.
they can get caught, and it can happen, and they can be the cause sometimes of somebody losing a fish of a lifetime or losing your first ever fish.
Of course.
So an integrated shooting head eliminates all of that. So you just have straight connection.
Yeah.
There's no loop to loop, and out you go. And then after that, you're just looking at, you know, get yourself a set of the poly leaders. There's various ones out there.
And they're for different depths, are they?
Exactly, yeah. So like, again, in the summertime, you'll have your floating and intermediate to just go kind of subsurface or on the surface and subsurface. Then, like, you haven't gone all the way down to 7 IPS, which is 7 inches per second.
Right.
Again,
Depending on the level you want your flies to swim at.
exactly. And
how important is that level?
it can be very, very important at times. Like, again, I'd always encourage the guys to go and buy the full set of them. Like, you can buy sets of them in 10 foot and 5 foot, where you're getting 7 or 8 different densities in the packet with a little wallet, you know, for like 50 or 60 quid.
And it's important then to chop and change, or
It is.
get your different depth, try and get the depth right. Like,
Yeah, well, then again, that's just up to you. Then just going away and experimenting, just getting yourself out there, having a look at the water, seeing what's happening around you, see what the fish are doing. If there's no fish coming to the surface, well, you might have to go well down. So that's where you could see yourself putting on a 5 or 6 IPS versus a slow intermediate, and having the fly an inch under the surface.
Right.
Like, it's just experience again is going to determine all that.
and in relation and moving, then heading down the line a bit further again, tippet.
Tippet again. It's going
Are
to
you using
determine-
tapered stuff?
You can, yeah. Like, I would recommend using a tapered leaders. Tapered leaders are
Okay.
fantastic. You
What
can-
kind of dimensions and breaking strains?
Yeah, well, again, I typically use, you know, a 9-10 foot tapered leader, you know, around 10-11 pounds.
Okay.
But I always tend to I like to cut them back a little bit myself. You know, I could
And
cut.
then would you put a bit of tippet onto the end of that as well?
Yeah, well, basically, yeah, I'd cut them back maybe a couple of foot. So on a 9-foot tapered leader, I might cut it back a couple of foot. You can put a loop-to-loop connection on it. You can put tippet rings on them, and then you're just putting on your normal bit of tippet, spool of tippet again. But like as long as you have a consistent taper there, you know, you just want to have that fairly consistent. But just cutting back a tapered leader just means, you know, when you're putting on fly after fly after fly, you're not
Burning
you're
up
not
that
easing
taper.
up. Exactly.
Yeah, we do the same for trout fish.
Yeah, so that's typically that. Like, and it's, you know, it saves you. You can have a tapered leader in for a long time.
Of course, yeah, absolutely makes sense. Like,
Exactly,
yeah.
yeah.
Buying them all the time, yeah, absolutely.
So-
And we won't really go into the fly end of the business. That's more my end of the business. We're tying a few flies tonight as well, and we got some guest tyers on tonight, tying us some salmon flies. But I'm going to ask you for 2 sets of tips now, Jason. The first one is just about what we've been talking. What's kind of your top tips, your recommendations for someone that's either starting out or looking to improve the kit they have. What's the? I know you mentioned earlier on, which is a very important tip, and we recommend saying for trout fishing that if you're going to go out and spend money on trout gear or any kind of fishing gear, well, pick up the phone and ring someone. Ring us up Scary, or if it's salmon fishing, ring Jason here in the Blackwater. That's a really important tip to do. Get the advice first, so you're not wasting your hard-earned money on something that's not effective for you for the kind of fishing you want to do. But is there anything else then you'd kind of give a tip on as regards getting set up into salmon fishing?
Yeah, well, look, the biggest point, or you just said it there yourself, give us a ring, you don't necessarily have to come here and buy it from us. It's not about that. It's just about anglers communicating with one another,
of course,
advising one another and helping one another. So anyone, I always say, I don't care where you buy it from, you don't have to buy it from here, but it's just ring us up, get the advice, contact a professional fly casting instructor or a professional guide that's on the river, knows what they're talking about, and just go and meet them, not even just over the phone, just get down to the river, take a walk down. But the most important thing is, no matter where you go, is that you have to be able to try that before you even before you even consider about buying it. Because everybody is different. You're different. I'm built different. I'm taller. You can get, some guys could be a lot smaller. They might need a longer rod because they're a bit smaller in that. So your rod length is going to determine, your own stature comes into it an awful lot.
Right.
Look, your mobility, you might have a bad shoulder, you might have to learn underhand casting a little bit more.
And of course, the casting in salmon fishing is a lot more complex.
It is,
than it is in, say, basic trout fishing. So, again, as Jay's saying, advice and coaching in that area could be the difference between you really enjoying your setup or being very frustrated on the water day after day and then just throwing it into the shed and never doing it again. So, casting workshops or casting clinics, or contact someone, an app guide, training instructor, or whoever it may be, to get some casting lessons could be crucial as regards how effective your gear is going to be.
Well, it's going to determine as well how quickly you're going to learn, and how quickly you'll advance on it, and obviously that's going to lead you to catching a fish a hell of a lot sooner than you would be if you were on your own, or if you're watching just typical videos off of YouTube.
Of course, absolutely.
It's YouTube videos are perfectly fine, they're grand to encourage you and keep you interested. But as in learning the mechanics of fly casting and everything like that, get yourself out with a casting instructor or a professional guide. But then go home, as I said to you there, and recently, we analyse now everything from the air. Your casting is going to be analysed from the sky, from above, and it gives you a great detail of how your casting position is. Exactly, and that's really helpful. And it's brilliant. So get yourselves out with a guide or a professional casting instructor, and they'll always put you right. Every single one of them.
Now, just before we finish up, then the last couple of tips I'm looking for off you is, be advanced or be a beginner. Couple of salmon tips. Couple of tips on catching a few fish. Now you're renowned around, and your father's world renowned in catching salmon. What would be a couple of pointers there now you'd hand out to anybody coming down to the Blackwater fishery here to put a salmon on the end of that line?
Well, look, time is the biggest one. You have to put your time in. We could just give you plenty of tips about certain flies in certain conditions and all this, and certain depths and all that. But probably the biggest tip that I'd say, if you're out there and you have a particular setup on the rod and you're fishing away hard for 4 or 5 hours in the day and nothing is happening, rather than making small changes, make big drastic changes.
Okay.
So if you're fishing an intermediate line or an intermediate poly leader and your fly is only subsurface and nothing is happening, well, don't go down to a sink 2 or a sink 3. I just say you're either making drastic changes, big changes, you're much better off doing it that way.
Right.
Because if they're not up there, they're down here. So if nothing is happening up here, get it well down, because there's very little difference between an intermediate and a sink 2.
Right.
So you're only making very small changes then. So if it's not working, make big changes. But just always be, always try and come out of your comfort zone then as well. If people get kind of bogged down in it and they get very used to it, but again, it's about making changes again, but make big changes rather than small little changes.
Yeah. Well, there we have it, folks. There's a bit of a lowdown of tackle. Still complex enough in my brain for the small amount of space I've left in it, but certainly gives me a bit of a clearer picture on how you might go about setting up tackle. And I hope you all took something from it in some way. Huge thanks to Mr. Jason Corcoran down here in the Blackwater. Runs a great show down here, and well worth a visit sometime. He's got some fantastic fishing for trout as well as salmon. So thanks a million, Jason, for your time. We're going to go back to the Vice now and tie some more flies, and I might just nip down with Jason for a quick cast on the river here below the shop, and we'll see you all soon. Take care. And we're back here live, folks. I hope you enjoyed that little bit of an interview with Jason. I was just looking at myself there. I don't think I would have ran 16k that day, but hopefully I'll do it tomorrow. But yeah, down with Jason. Jason runs a great spot down there on the Blackwater. If no one's been down to him there, the Blackwater Trout and Salmon Fishery. He also has a B&B down there, so you can stay over, fish some of his amazing beats. Not only for salmon, but he's great trout fishing there as well. I do a bit of guiding down there for Jason for trout fishing. And we run a few workshops and master classes down there. Last year we did a couple. We got loads more coming. We're actually working on that at the moment. Our master class dates for next year, so we'll release them. Next week. Probably we'll have them finalised, and you can go ahead and book up into the trout master classes 1 day and 2 day events. It'll be great crack down there, and we get through a lot of material. So if anyone wants to improve during the year, by all means come down and see us on the Blackwater. See, Jason runs a B&B there as well, Cable Island B&B. Lovely place today, great breakfast. Chef's a bit grumpy at times in the mornings, but other than that, no, he can cook a fairly good fry, I can tell you. No, great spot. Fair play, Jason, great man to share as well. So worth checking him out. We're going to do our last fly for tonight, a bit of a cascade that'll tie for a few lads here in the north, and they've got plenty of fish on it, and I want to share it, which is I got a size 10 double in the Vice there, and I'm going to start off with a bit of Kevlar for this one. I'm going to use the Kevlar thread again, putting in a nice base there first. Hope everyone's enjoying the show. Of course, we're live here every Saturday night at 8:30, right up until the weekend before St. Patrick's weekend, because after that I will be gone fishing. So we run the whole way from October if anybody's new joining us here. We're going to do a little bush on this one of oval gold. Tie that in there up on top. Secure it in well. Bring our thread back down to where it meets the point of those hooks. And 4 or 5 wraps at the butt of that fly. Pinch it in through the middle and secure it in. Keeps everything nice and safe. Stops it from moving. Of course, the salmon season is open on some rivers. Other rivers it's very soon. And the trout season's not too far away. 15th of February we'll see some of our southern rivers open for trout. And then by March 17th we'll all be open. And it'd be great to be back out in the rivers now. Here have a few competitions coming back up as well and things like that. We'll be able to meet and gather together along the way. Really looking forward. Of course, if you're looking for any materials, don't forget to check us out here at pescarifly.com. We have a brand new website coming. We've been working hard on it for the last 2 weeks, so we have a brand new website coming. Let's be on stream hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Probably by the end of the month should have it finished, so watch out for that one, folks. For the tail here now, I pre-prepared this tail while I was watching Jason there. I've got a yellow bucktail and some orange bucktail, our own bucktail here, Pescari Fly. Mixed up 2 small segments of that. In there also I have 4 strips of pearl. I have 2 orange and 2 pearl. 4 strips, not 4 strips of pearl, but 4 strips of crystal flash. 2 orange and 2 pearl. And I've just basically rolled them between my fingers to get a bit of a mix on them. Now I'm not going to stack them. I like that natural kind of look. So the tail on this should be twice the length of the body. So there's 1. And there's 2. Catch it there. Hold it on top. Just before I do, actually, folks, a little bit of wax on that Kevlar. Just helps to stop it from moving. Keeps everything in place. Up on the top, pinch, pull down, secure it in, and bring it back. Just give that little tug. Extra mil or 2 there. There's our tail. Yeah, Kevin, seen that. First salmon landed on the Druce last week. Yeah, congratulations. Anyone who know who was? I did see a post on it, but his name is his name slipped my mind there now at the moment. So just going to taper them off back up towards the head, like so, and I'll just run up along there now with my thread and just secure them into position. Make sure they're all sitting up top again. We want a nice even underbody here. Secure them in well. There we go. Nice tail. Little gold. You're very welcome, Tony. You're very welcome. We're going back to the gold oval here as well. This is a small gold oval. And we're going to tie that in up underneath. So again, push it up in there between the two hooks and secure it in the full length. Then we're going to some peacock and orange uni mylar for the first half of this body. And we want the orange being exposed when we tie the fly. Just tie that in up along there. Secured right back down to the butt. And then bring your thread up 3/4 of the way up the fly. Up there. Oh. Take your mylar. Hold the tail at the same time in position. Make sure nothing gets pulled out of position by putting that body in to get a nice and clean transition from the gold oval butt right up into there. And overlapping turns. Nice bit of pressure on that mylar. Overlapping turns. Little over halfway up that fly. Take your Kevlar, throw it over once. A second time, put the pressure on the thread, take the pressure off the mylar. A couple of good turns in up there. Secure it in. Trim it off and then complete the job. I always have a good look around, make sure it's okay. We then take our oval gold and we're going to rib that with oval gold. Okay, always good practice when you're tying in ribs is to tie them in up under the fly, so when you do that first initial turn it does not upset the tail or anything else that might be there. Tie that off. It's a lovely body on the butt of this fly. This was tied for kind of PD water here in the north. A little bit of colour in it. Nice little bit of brightness. A lovely orangey copper body on that fly there now. Okay, so for next one, an awful lot of cascades. You see a hackle going into this particular point. We're not putting a hackle in at this particular point. What we're going to do is create a small little double loop, and we're going to put in some yellow seals fur instead. So just tease out your yellow seals fur. There's bloody deer hair everywhere. There might be more deer hair in this than seals fur. And no clean space here at the moment. A little bit of seals fur. Going to do the double loop, same as done before. Just stretch out that Kevlar. Get it nice and flat. Split it with the needle. See, Dave Donovan is back. Dave, how you doing, Dave? Hope everything went well. Dave is back from Penny's there. Dave, I told him you went for a scan on your back. I didn't want to be telling the boys and girls that you were going to Penny's again. Rita brought you off to Penny's, so I told him to scan your back. That's what I get for covering you for you, I suppose. But good to have you back with us, Dave. Graham sadly missed your trivia question. So I'm just spinning up that bit of creating a nice dubbing brush there. A nice bit of length to it. Always good as well. Come back then and just start where we finished off the copper. And as we make each touch and turn up along, we're just stroking back those fibres. So we're basically we're substituting the hackle for seals fur. Any loose bits, just give them a little bit of a pluck out. Lightly enough dressed fly. Don't want to overdress it. Can be a common mistake with some flies, is they can get overdressed. Nice lightly dressed. Just adjust that camera just a little bit for you there now, folks. Get that more central to you. Okay, nice lightly dressed. Don't want to overdress it. Okay, we're going to add in a red hackle here now. Tied in by the tip, as we did before. Fold back the tip and make sure it's well secured in. Trim away our waste. Fold those hackles over. Now we're going to start winding that there, just on the edge of the dubbin. Stroking back those hackles on every turn going directly in front of the other, towards the eye. 3 or 4 turns is enough on that. Get your thread in there and secure it in well. Just tidy up any strain. Just going to, again, like before, just push it around a bit to the sides. Make sure it's a nice position. Hold it all in position if you can. A couple of more turns on top of that to really make sure that's nice, straight. Push it back. Okay, next we're going to push in, I'm actually looking at the fly here in front of me, folks. Next thing we're going to put in a wing. Okay, so the wing on this one is, as I said before, cashmere goat. Has a lot of movement. We have some cashmere goat down in the shop, and I got some more coming actually. Lovely long wing material. Very mobile. Really, really nice stuff to use. So last little bit on this patch for me. I'm going to put in a little, light enough, black wing on that. Sorry, I should have actually waxed that as well. It just helps stop the wing from rolling to the side and stuff as well. I've a little bit of wax on it. There we go. Secure that in well. Trim off our waste again. Get it right in there. Another turn or two just to make sure everything's well secure. Then we're going to take a yellow saddle hackle and complete that process again as we did with the first hackle. Fold it back. Secure it in. Take away our waste and fold our fibres again. It's a lovely fly in peaty water. Took a few fish last year for a few locals here in the north. Once I got it folded back, again same as before, every turn directly in front of the other, just stroking all those hackles back, making sure everyone's in correct position. Couple of turns to secure it in. And we'll just take away that waste. Lovely. A little bit of stalk there sticking out where I missed it. Okay, our head will clean that up there now in a few minutes. Right, we can whip finish off that Kevlar. Take it away. Switch to our back to our bit of black thread. You're very welcome. Kieran Sherlock there. Just thanks. So we don't mind at all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for putting up with us. That's what I'd say. Thanks for putting up with us on the live shows, Kieran. A little bit of jungle cock on the sides there. Don't forget these flies will all be going out to some lucky angler this week. We'll do the draw on Tuesday evening or Wednesday morning. Just selecting out 2 jungle cocks here. Cheeks. And just one either side. Not directly on the side, I like to keep it just up off the side a little bit. As you'll see now in a second. I think to just sit. That one is not sitting. There we go. As you can see, just sitting up off the side a little bit. Not directly. Trim up your waist there. And of course the other side is kind of, just need a needle there just to expose a bit. Just kind of get down to the eye a little bit. Holding your cheeks in place. Again, trade up to the nearest part of the eye or up to the top of the head and build your head back towards the body. Getting a nice clean taper on it. I did, James. I saw that. Yeah. Thanks, Orca. Really lovely fly. That lovely bit of orangey copper in the back half of that body. Lovely little bit of flash. You know, not overdressed, just nice light little wing on it. The cashmere go has great movement. The mix of the seals fur and the 2 hackles up on the top really do make a very, very attractive fly. The video's not doing the body as much justice as it should, but very, very nice cascade. Very attractive. Has caught quite a few fish there last year. Thanks, Graham. Little bit of varnish up on the head of that. There we go, folks. Thanks, Mike. Mike McGovern on there from New York. Thanks, James. Thanks, Bernard. Yeah, I do too, Dennis. You know what? I love tying salmon flies. Little bit different, you know. It's a nice break from. I do always, you know, have a little smile when someone rings me up and say you wouldn't do me two dozen salmon flies or even more at times. Nice break from the nymphs and stuff. But there's a lovely fly, tried and tested, works well, and hope he's enjoyed it. Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Colin. Thanks, everyone, for the good luck messages tomorrow. 16k tomorrow morning. I'll put up an old post. I certainly ain't going to compete at it anyway, I can tell you that. But my goal is just to finish it anyway. I said 6 months ago I wouldn't have been able to run 16 yards, let alone 16k. So the goal is to finish the race, and we'll see how it goes from there. So hopefully all will be well. Looking forward to it. Great to be in some kind of shape. But there we have it, folks. There's another night. There's another night over, another Saturday night closer to the season. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll be back live next Saturday night. Don't forget, if you're looking for any fly tying gear, fly fishing gear, give us a shout here at pescarifly.com. We have a new website coming up soon. The masterclasses dates will be released next week. Thanks, Brian Kennedy. Thanks everyone for watching and putting up with us here. Hope you all enjoyed tonight. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your weekend. And stay safe out there, everyone. And sure, I'll see you all next Saturday. So, and good night and take care. Thanks for watching. Do more clicking here now before I go. Good night, everybody.